In the latest developments from the January 29th anti-ICE protest at Fremont High School in Fremont, Nebraska, Fremont Police have issued citations to 1 adult and 5 juveniles involved in the chaotic event. This swift action addresses the situation efficiently, aiming to conclude matters in a reasonable time frame without drawing out extensive judicial proceedings. Given the politically charged nature of the protest, and the fact that all involved charged parties are juveniles except 1 adult, the citations appear designed to wrap up the incident promptly while holding accountable those responsible for the disorder. However, there's more to this incident. The juvenile driver of the red SUV received a citation for leaving the scene of a personal injury accident. However, this action was fully justified due to the angry, hostile mob of protesters surrounding his vehicle, yelling threats, hitting the car, and stealing his Trump 2024 flag. The driver, facing immediate danger in the emotionally charged environment, drove away to ensure his safety and that of any passengers, then contacted authorities shortly after. Nebraska state law does not have specific provisions for leaving the scene when under attack by an angry mob, but this case highlights the need for such protections. Drivers should have the reasonable ability to relocate to a safe distance and then report the incident, especially when a crowd is threatening and assaulting the vehicle post-accident. The Fremont incident could set a valuable precedent for similar situations across America, where angry mobs during protests often attack vehicles, allowing individuals to prioritize personal safety without facing undue penalties. The female student protester who ran directly into the moving red SUV, captured clearly on multiple video angles, was cited for being a pedestrian on a highway or roadway. She darted from the side of the road straight into the vehicle's path without warning, making the collision unavoidable for the driver. An adult, Megan Sheeks of Fremont, was cited for criminal mischief and disorderly conduct. 1 juvenile received citations for criminal mischief and theft, likely tied to the stolen flag and damage to the vehicle. 2 other juveniles were cited for obstructing a police officer and disorderly conduct, reflecting the crowd's aggressive behavior toward law enforcement and the driver. Fremont Police have purposefully avoided involving the school, city officials, police department, or other entities in their charges or investigations, despite a long list of potential crimes related to child endangerment, neglect, reckless supervision, and injury facilitation by adults associated with the school system and community organizations. This decision prevents additional criminal or judicial escalation, leaving any further accountability to potential civil cases. The Dodge County Attorney's Office continues to review evidence but has not filed additional charges, aligning with the goal of quick resolution. This incident serves as an excellent lesson in accident response, highlighting the legal duties of drivers under Nebraska law while accounting for extraordinary circumstances like threats from a hostile mob. In a typical street accident involving a pedestrian or another vehicle, the driver has a duty to stop immediately at or near the scene, pull safely to the side of the road if possible, exchange identification and insurance information, render reasonable assistance to any injured parties, such as calling for medical help, and report the incident to authorities without delay. However, when faced with an attacking mob, as happened here with the crowd surrounding the vehicle, yelling threats, hitting the car, and stealing the flag, drivers may assert a justification based on reasonable fear of imminent harm or self-defense, allowing them to incrementally move forward to escape immediate danger without technically abandoning the area entirely, provided they report the accident as soon as it is safe to do so. In this case, the driver of the red SUV could have ideally pulled over immediately to assess the situation and fulfill the duty to render aid, but if the mob followed and continued the assault, he had the right to advance incrementally until the threat subsided or police arrived. Ultimately, given the charged environment and ongoing attacks, leaving the scene entirely to ensure personal safety, and then promptly contacting authorities falls within acceptable legal frameworks for situations involving imminent peril, He did everything right by prioritizing de-escalation and self-protection in the face of the mob's aggression, aligning with the principle that no one is required to remain in a position of vulnerability, and his subsequent engagement with police satisfied the duty to report. In reality, the driver should not face any charges, as his departure was a necessary response to the crowd's attacks, threats, and theft. It's positive that all juveniles are being handled as such, with no felonies involved, allowing them to resolve this and move on without permanent records scarring their futures. The event provides a good lesson for the parties, the Fremont community, and others nationwide on the dangers of unchecked protests and the importance of personal safety in volatile situations. The broader context remains unchanged. Faculty, staff, administration, and community adults facilitated and supported the protest, indoctrinating students with anti-American, pro-illegal immigrant views through classroom activities and outside influences. Video footage confirms adults, likely school employees, standing with students, directing the event that spilled into the streets. This brainwashing led the unprepared female student to run recklessly into traffic, making her a victim of adult manipulation tied to radical activist groups. Responsibility spreads across the school board, city officials, mayor, and pro-immigrant organizations who have let Fremont's children down by endorsing activities that endanger youth. These adults could face criminal liability for child endangerment, reckless endangerment, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, negligent supervision, conspiracy to commit disorderly conduct, educational malpractice, aiding illegal activities, fraud, and civil rights violations. Yet, police have chosen not to pursue these, focusing instead on citations to wrap it up and hopefully move on. Final thoughts. A betrayal of trust. Adults failed Fremont's children and must face real accountability. The quick issuance of minor citations in the Fremont High School anti-IC protest incident is nothing more than a superficial bandage on a deep wound. Police chose the path of least resistance, handing out tickets for disorderly conduct, theft of a flag, pedestrian violations, and leaving the scene while deliberately shielding the real architects of this disaster: the faculty, staff, administration, school board, city officials, mayor, and community adults who orchestrated, facilitated, and indoctrinated students into this dangerous spectacle. By refusing to investigate or charge any of these adults for child endangerment, reckless supervision, negligent oversight, contributing to the delinquency of minors, conspiracy to commit disorderly conduct, educational malpractice, aiding illegal activities, fraud, or civil rights violations, law enforcement has sent a clear message. Adult manipulation of children for political ends carries no serious consequences in Fremont. This is not resolution, it is evasion. The female student who ran headlong into the red SUV was not acting independently. She was the product of deliberate adult brainwashing. Teachers allowed sign-making in class, discussed anti-IC views as part of Americanism lessons, and encouraged opposition to lawful immigration enforcement. School employees stood outside directing the protest as it spilled into the streets. Outside pro-immigrant organizations were given access to shape young minds. These adults turned impressionable teenagers into pawns in a radical activist agenda, then stood by while one of them darted into traffic and nearly lost her life. The juvenile driver, facing a hostile, threatening crowd that screamed insults, hit his vehicle, and stole his flag, made the only rational choice. He drove away to protect himself. Yet he received a citation for leaving the scene, while the adults who created the entire volatile environment walk free. This imbalance is indefensible. Nebraska law must be updated to explicitly protect drivers who flee mob violence, but even more urgently, the adults who endangered children through indoctrination and reckless facilitation must be held criminally accountable. Their actions were not mistakes. They were calculated, ideological, and destructive. Fremont's children deserve better than adults who exploit them for political theater. ICE's necessary work removing illegal immigrants from Nebraska communities continues to be undermined by the very people entrusted to educate and protect youth. The school system city leadership, and community organizations that enabled this protest have betrayed public trust and placed lives at risk. Until these adults face meaningful consequences, criminal, civil, or professional, the message remains unchanged. Manipulate children, endanger them, and walk away unscathed. This incident is not over. It is a warning. Fremont must demand real accountability from the grown-ups who failed so spectacularly. Anything less protects the guilty and leaves the next generation vulnerable to the same dangerous ideology disguised as education.